Morning, smelly Herberts. How are we all? Morning, Ashley. It's an early one today. Nads is currently on a phone chat, and I've got a Zoom at 10 o'clock that's going to run for quite some time. So I thought we'd get this done quite early today. Nads is also doing Loose Women from home tomorrow, so you'll see Nads later. Is it Wednesday today? So yeah, there'll be the members live tonight, of course, and much later today, comments going up. How are we all? How is everyone? It's a sad day. A sad day. A couple of the stories that we're talking about today are very sad, actually. Very with huge. We have huge empathy with the Meghan Markle one. We'll get on to discuss them as soon as we can. As soon as a few more people are here. How are we all? Tina Davis, Emma McGregor, Ashley Gardner, Emily Denmaid, Sharon Elston, Katie Thomas, Donna Carkett. Not a particularly nice comment there, we'll get rid of that. Stuart G, good morning from Cumbria. Lucy Gale, Bridget Caffarella, good morning everyone. Sending my love to everyone and hoping they have a pleasant morning. What a sweet little message. That's very nice. We hope you have one too. Yes, Becky Staffy Fart Stink. I just love your name. That's just quite a remarkable name. Epsington, you don't owe an apology at all for being grumpy yesterday. You're absolutely right. It's the cut and thrust of a good conversation about vaccines, I seem to remember. So don't be silly at all. We love it. Sleepy Moo, hello. Nadia's better. She's much better. She's just on a, she's next door. She's just in a, she's in there. She's just on a phone call at the moment. And then I've got to go on one too. So I thought we'd get this out of the way earlier. Better that we have a natter earlier than potentially no natter at all. Nads will be back for the members live. We'll both be back for the members live later tonight at 7:30. Claire Yardley Coker, you're not getting notifications. I know that's frustrating, isn't it? A lot of people are saying that. That we are encountering some sort of. I just wonder whether there's an awful lot of traffic on YouTube at the moment. I don't know whether that's kind of doing it. So yeah, bear with and perhaps drop YouTube. Their helpline is very responsive, I think. Shiraz Samad hating the lockdown. Well, lockdown as it manifests itself at the moment is looking like it's ending. Oh, you're in San Francisco. I'm not entirely sure. Is Los Angeles back into some kind of stay-at-home order? I seem to have read somewhere. I think it might be. I think numbers again. Ashley, lockdown is nearly over. It's exciting, isn't it? Thank you, Emma McGregor. Sarah Elliott, really enjoyed the last vlog. I know, it was a heartwarmer, wasn't it? It was really nice. We wanted it just to focus on Caitlin and Caroline and Fifi and Dale. We really did. And who loved Herbie, the dog? Go and check it out. It's really nice because we recorded the entire Zoom chats and then sent them to Caitlin and sent them to Caroline and Dale and Fifi. We're going to be doing another one actually next week. So someone else has requested that we do it by chat, whereas some people, if you're wondering, some people have obviously, given the lockdown situation, have requested that we wait until we can travel, which is nice too. But yeah, so in the news today, I think one of the big stories, obviously the Chancellor is doing his spending review today. Just going to quickly mention that. He is not issuing a budget. He's not going to be talking about how he fills the holes. He's going to be talking, everyone agrees that has to be dealt with next year. But in the short term, this is just about where he's going to allocate his funds, whatever funds he would have had or normally has every year. So don't be expecting all sorts of answers to our financial worries and woes there. But the big story, Biden continues to the handover continues to happen with sincerity, Biden says, though Trump was in a 64-second odd press briefing where he didn't really say anything about the handover or the, transition that he's essentially agreed to. But the big story today is Meghan Markle. This obviously hasn't happened imminently. This is something that happened in July during lockdown, and Meghan Markle has revealed that she and Harry suffered a miscarriage in lockdown and speaks of the royal couple's unbearable grief. Now, I feel for her in this because I think, on many levels, obviously we've gone through our experience. Many people have gone through their experiences of miscarriage. someone else who's in the press today is Christina Perri, who's sadly had her baby was born silently, I think is the discreet way of saying it, but sadly, yes, she lost her baby too. And, you know, me and Nadia experienced two, probably three miscarriages across time. And it is a very traumatic thing. And because it's neither one thing nor another, it's one of those things that is quite a difficult thing to sort of open up about, and of quite a difficult thing to have sort of acknowledged in a sense, because I think the cut and thrust of modern life is such that, you know, there's an assumption that yes, it's sad, but yes, it's not common, but it's something that a lot of people go through, and therefore the emotional intensity of it isn't perhaps fully understood or fully acknowledged by everyone. And I think Meghan Markle has a double bind because she's Meghan Markle, and you've got, first of all, the sense of her having not particularly been welcomed into the British firmaments, and then of course you've got a lot of people who think she didn't want to be and all that kind of stuff. I'm not entering into that conversation, put that to the side. Me and Nadia have often talked about that, and I do think that there was a sort of systemic suspicion over the whole marriage prior to what's played out. Then there's the thing of them wanting a sort of private life versus a public life, and then lots of people are very up in arms about that. They paid back Frogmore, but there's still people who are kind of cross, So I think, you know, this coming out with this is an even bigger decision for someone like Meghan. I think a lot of people would say, oh well, you know, she's royalty, she'll have had the best treatment. Yeah, of course, she will have had lots of care. She's incredibly rich. She's incredibly privileged and all of that. But the emotional complexities of it are the same, regardless of wealth, class, or status. And I think, you know, I just hope that there is a groundswell of just sympathy and empathy, and that there isn't a rush to want to read anything cynical into this, because there seems to be always a rush to read something cynical into almost everything. Yeah, totally agree, Xander. So our heart goes out to her, and she writes, you know, very movingly about it. You know, she would lay in hospital bed holding her husband's hand, felt the clamminess of his palm and kissed his knuckles wet from both her tears, staring at the cold white walls, my eyes glazed over. And she says, I answered him honestly, this journalist who asked her how she was, not knowing what I would say would resonate with so many new mums and older ones. She talks about how difficult it was sitting opposite her husband, who was shattered to pieces next to her. And it is one of those. I mean, we have talked. Me and Nadia did do a How to Stay Married about miscarriage, and there's no hierarchy being suggested here to the intensity of the experience. The most intense experience of miscarriage is always the woman's. But of course, when you're a couple, it's a moment of unity, isn't it, having a child? And yes, it's happening within a woman's body, but there is an immense amount of complexity and upset and distress that occurs for the husband. And I do remember, we've talked before, one of the miscarriages that Nadia had was deeply, deeply traumatic when it happened. Because of course it's not just the physicality of it, it's the narrative, it's the filial bond, it's the belief and the construction of a life and a personality that goes around just, you know, that isn't just about the baby, it's about everything else that's being put into place around that baby's arrival. It quite literally is the shattering of dreams, and it's the shattering of potential and all of that kind of stuff. So, yeah. I mean, I remember with I think one of the miscarriages was she was at work, Nadia, and strangely I got a call from and the head of the BBC didn't realise that I didn't know, but I got a call from the head of the BBC. I was shooting a show, and she rang me and she said, oh, I'm so sorry to hear about Nadia, because of course Nadia was on set, I was on set, and Nadia was on set on a different set. And when she told me, I hadn't yet spoken to Nadia. I didn't know it had happened, but because she was shooting a show in a hospital, it had moved very quickly. And then, of course, so I found out sort of secondhand with one of the miscarriages, and it was just, it was such a shock. It was like a solar plexus shock. You just went from new child to no new child. So it's an interesting, not contrast, but it's interesting that also the story today of Christina Perri, and, you know, we haven't had the experience, thankfully, of stillbirth, and that's what's happened to Christina Perri, sadly. I'm just going to find the story. She said, and I think it's a very tender description, this, Christina Perri's daughter born silent. I don't know whether this is a phrase that's used, but she's the 1,000 Years singer wrote in a post on Instagram, last night we lost our baby girl. She was born silent after fighting so hard to make it to our world. And I'm not looking to draw comparisons or parallels or anything like that, but loss is loss. And, you know, I think it's really important that when people are in the public, you know, have a public life, a public persona, as with Chrissy Teigen recently, if they choose to use, in Meghan Markle's case, the New York Times or Instagram or whatever it is they choose to use, you know, the thing that I think gets a little bit forgotten about all social media is it's social media and expression and all that. Yep, everyone earns from it. You know, we earn a living from social media too. Everyone does that, but also everyone is trying to connect with others. It's a process of connection, and it's a chosen form of connection. We don't query that television is a chosen form of connection. It just happens to be on a television and it's been around for longer, so we accept it without questioning it. If people choose to share anything about their lives, as long as it doesn't hurt someone else, I don't see why we should get into a blaming and shaming thing. Actually, I think we should view things like social media as an extension of our public/domestic space. This is somewhere we invite you into, or, you know, you, when you're on social media, you invite people into you. You invite us to comment on your comments. And so I think rather than, you know, hitting at these people for sharing these stories, I think sharing stories isn't just about increasing your profile and, you know, making loads of money. That's part of it. You know, lots of people have found different ways to diversify in that sense. But when you get to moments like this, if people want to use their Instagram as a natural extension of their own personal self-expression, I think we just respect that. If you don't like it, don't comment on it. And if you don't like it, go somewhere else. Just don't look at it. It's really odd. So the reason I'm saying that is, I know that Chrissy Teigen got lots of hassle, and I hope that Christina Perri doesn't for going on Instagram, and I hope that Meghan Markle doesn't for being Meghan Markle, because it seems to be anything she says becomes a bloody nightmare. So our hearts go out to both of them. They're two very different ways to lose a new life, literally, and a new life as a couple, and a new life as a mum, and a new life as a dad-to-be. So I think it's a very, very sad news. So all of our heart goes out to them. Now, in other news, knocking about, we're not going to look at a new coronavirus thing. There's always a desire, isn't there, in the papers to dig up. Where can we dig up the next big pandemic story? That always seems to be the story, doesn't it? So I'm just, there was just a news. Oh yes, has anyone seen, this is completely off beam. Do you see what I did there with this news story? In Utah, if I were to say to Utah, what do you think of when I say Utah? The state of Utah in America. What do you think when I say Utah? I often think of the Book of Mormon, the musical. Do you? I often think of, in Utah, I often think of Salt Lake City, Mormons, yeah, Ellery Jones. Utah Saints, cracking band. The Osmonds, were they Mormons? I mean, I remember years ago going to, it was actually a friend of a friend was a Mormon. I went to a Mormon wedding where was the actual wedding? We were staying on a beach house on Newport Beach. Then we drove over to Las Vegas. And then where did the marriage happen? I think the marriage happened in LA, actually. But yeah, anyway, check it out, guys. If you have the capacity right now on another handset or something else to look online, put in Utah and then put in Monolith. I tell you now, This is like something out of a sci-fi movie. I don't know if anyone remembers the film 2001: A Space Odyssey. Cracking, I love it. Cracking. For some reason, I have this strange collision of films from my youth. Rocky Horror Picture Show, 2001: A Space Odyssey, Clockwork Orange, all that kind of. I love all that weird, cracked up sort of shit, sort of early 70s, late 60s stuff. But the beginning of that film, where there's the ape smashing the jawbone on the floor, there's a huge black monolith that just appears in the sand. Right, it's all very odd. Very odd. Yeah, we got rid of him, D. And the same structure, there is the same structure in the Utah desert. And of course, it had all sorts of people wondering what on earth it is. Now, some people are suggesting it's a work by a potential artist. So it's a curious effort to go to because it's very heavy and it goes deep into the sand. It's a great way to promote your art, isn't it? A huge monolith. Do you think it's here to take Trump away, Epsington? Maybe. But it's quite a striking image. And if it's a work of art, I love that. I love it. Some people think it could be something from another planet. Other people think it must be a work of art. I think it is funny, me and Nadia often talk about this, that right at the beginning of lockdown, life had got so strange that when they confirmed the American Navy Air Force's sightings of unidentified flying phenomena, we all just kind of went, yeah, whatever. You know, there's footage. Area 57, that's in Nevada, isn't it? So yeah, so we've got a strange monolith in the desert. So keep your eye on that story. Let's see if it's confirmed as a work of art, or whether it's actually a visitation from another planet. Here we go. This will cheer you up. New coronavirus closely related to SARS discovered in Cambodia. Researchers from the Pasteur Institute found a new virus in 2 horseshoe bats stored in a freezer. The finding could help to unravel how COVID passed from bats to humans. I thought everyone said it wasn't from bats. Is it from bats or not from bats? I wish people would make up their minds. You know what I mean? And apparently Ghislaine Maxwell's representation, so there's a little story just landed here about Ghislaine Maxwell. Her lawyers are complaining about the fact that she is being held in solitary confinement and being excessively and invasively searched and monitored 24 hours a day. I think this is because apparently she's been working every 15 minutes by torchlight, because I think this is probably to do with the fact that they're worried that an Epstein situation could happen, aren't they? They want to make sure there's no potential for alleged suicide. We've got Ghislaine Maxwell. I'll tell you what though, every time I sort of think what a shithole 2020 was and what an absolute fucking disaster it was, I end up thinking, how great could 2021 be? So let's look to that. How big and brilliant do you think 2021 will be? When do you think 2021 will get started? Do you think we're going to hit spring in the way that the government have said? If Trump pardons Ghislaine, that will finish any hope he has of a bounce back. That will be seen as the most cynical move ever. Heather Westgarth, you think 2022? Do we think 2021 is going to run as smoothly as all guesstimates are going? Summer of 2021 is going to be awesome, Claire H8011. That's kind of what we're trying to indicate to the girls. You know, I think Maddie is desperate for a music festival. You know, that's her passion, that's her love. She's got loads of gigs being lined up for when venues are allowed to open. She's really looking forward to meeting a couple of managers and all this kind of stuff. So she really wants to plug back into all of that. She's been taking acting classes on Zoom with various RSC actors, which has been lovely in lockdown. Kiki has been doing lots and lots of I mean, Kiki's doing so well in her English and her maths at the moment, and so she's looking forward to sort of September 2021. Something's going to be happening for me in September 2021 as well. I think the summer of 2021 is going to be potentially the biggest and greatest for cinema, for theatre, but some of you there are saying it could be 2022. Do you think? Do you think we're going to have, let's assume it's not going to run smoothly to spring. Let's assume that we hit the first snag in January. So we get Christmas and then we hit January. March? What do you reckon? March, when the weather starts to get warmer again? Because it died off a bit, didn't it, when it got warmer here? So I think we could be all right for next summer. I think we could be. Do you? I'm hopeful. It won't be 22, it'll be April, May time, Rachel Louise, after Easter, Ashley. Yeah. Emma McGregor, wasn't Fifi's reaction to Nanny Di absolutely priceless? Nanny Di struggles sometimes to work out what's going on the screen. She doesn't know sometimes when I'm filming if we're live or if she's looking at people. And we wind her up a little bit about that. She doesn't mind that. But it only fully sunk into her after the vlog last night. Do check it out if you can see it, if you haven't seen it. That she was the star of the piece. We love that. We love that. Nanny Di does know how loved she is. She's a funny fish, Nanny Di. I don't know if you're watching this, Nan, Mum. But it's like I a lot of you often kind of say to me, oh, don't be so harsh with Nanny Di. She's, you're a bit too ribby with her. Okay, I am. It's the nature of a son and his mum who've been together, well, since I was born, on and off. And, there's a bond there that's very tight. There's a poster for a movie, actually. Check it out. I think it's a John Cassavetes movie called Gloria. And the post, just check it up. Just search Gloria film poster. And I think it's Gloria, I forget the name of the actress. She's a brilliant actress. John Cassavetes' wife, I forget her name. And there's a poster of her with a gun, with her legs sort of like boldly standing. There's a boy just looking around her leg. That's how I felt. I mean, I didn't feel that she was that protective of me all the time when I was a child, because it was a very troubled childhood in many regards. And my nan and granddad were vital. But that connection is key. And so I am an only child. And so that connection between me and my mum, our friend in Chiswick has quite a sort of lovely relationship with her mum, which seems quite similar in a way. It's not that it's just abrasive, but if I'm soft and gloopy with my mum, like I was around my birthday on one of the days, we weren't filming for most of our birthdays because the girls didn't want us to, and they wanted a normal private family time. She gets a bit agitated, my mum. She sort of gets it's a bit weird, Mark. I don't know if I like it. So there's that sort of slightly generational thing where they don't want you to be gloopy. And she quite likes that sort of cut and thrust of things. So this is a long roundabout answer to, I think she does know that she's well loved. I show her your comments on Instagram. But there's a strange sort of generational dislocation with her and it. She doesn't quite understand how it works. And then I think when she saw Fifi, she got quite emotional after the two lives. I think she realises, it's not just words, it's real people. And I think we're always going to great lengths to reiterate that to her. So she does. She really feels the love. We share the love with her from you all. She gets it. So bear that in mind. So when next time you watch something we're doing and you're thinking, be a bit nicer to her, or stop being so stop bantering. Tell you what, if I don't banter with her, she gets a right mood on. A right mood on. Oh, am I there? Have you lost me? Am I on 4G? I seem to have lost you on my computer. What's going on here? Let me just pump you onto 4G. Just one. How's that? Is that better? It's really weird. The screen just died. Hang on one sec. Screen's just no YouTube. Oh, fucking hell! Tell you what, I've got to do a Zoom in 20 minutes. Nadia's on a call. Okay, let me just see if I can get back to you. Okay, so I can only go with you. She's great, Chelsea girl. She's just on a call at the moment. And then I've got, oh, hang on, you're all coming back. Here you are. There we go. That was weird. Oh, nothing went wrong your side, Nicholas Synod. So yeah, what was that? You both remind me of me and my son. I'm a recovering alcoholic, therefore wasn't the greatest mum, but we have a bond like no other. That's interesting, Emma. I mean, my mum doesn't drink anymore, and she hasn't drunk for 6 years. And she hasn't done that with any help. She hasn't gone into AA, she didn't do rehab, she didn't do anything like that. She just knew how to stop. In fact, her ex-girlfriend, Liz, who sadly passed away last year. You know, I think my mum's doing really well, given that she lost her life companion last year, who was her girlfriend for many years. I mean, I first met Liz, her girlfriend, when I was 19, when I was at university. And, you know, it was a relationship and a friendship over all those years until last year. And they were friends, close friends up until the end. My mum's gay, for anyone who doesn't know that. And, you know, she lost her partner last, you know, a companion. And if I'm honest, I always thought that my mum, regardless of their very tempestuous relationship, I always thought my mum and Liz would end up those two women that lived together. Do you know what I mean? What I mean by that is, like, my nan and granddad lived in a bungalow down in Dorset. And you've got to understand, this is a deeply conservative suburban area. And that's where I spent most of my downtime out of school. I'd be sort of, it was frustrating because I'd be yanked away from all my friends doing exciting things in London, or not really exciting things, running around building sites and chucking television cathode tubes at each other and all that sort of stuff. But I'd go down to my nan's and I'd ride my BMX around these deserted streets, which looks like Miami, but it's down in Muddyfoot. And there used to be two women who lived next door to my nan and granddad, called Auntie Emily and Auntie Annie. And I remember me and Nadia being so shocked when, only a couple of years before Nanny Thelma died, I remember saying to Nanny Thelma, do you remember Auntie Emily and Auntie Annie? And I used to sort of go take her to the supermarket and I'd add up her price of her thing and she'd give me 20p for 50p for doing her shopping. I mean, Nan leant over and you've got to understand, I'm not saying this is the politically correct way of saying this before I get shot down. I mean, Nan leant over and said good question, Chrissy. My nan leant over to me and said, I said about Auntie Annie. I said, were they sisters, Auntie Annie and Auntie Emily? And my Nanny Thelma said, oh no, love, they were lesers. You could have knocked me and Nadia over with a feather. I didn't know Nanny Thelma knew that word. So in answer to your question, Chrissy, about my mum, did Nanny Thelma know about my mum being gay? My Nanny Thelma's only take on it was, well, your mum's a bit strange. That was it. That was it. I made many mistakes as a child talking about my mum's girlfriends to my grandparents, and there was forever the act of people going, shh, don't say that, and all that kind of thing. So my granddad allegedly didn't know, and my nan never formally acknowledged it. So what I was trying to say was, I often thought that my mum and Liz would become Auntie Di and Auntie Lizzie, like Auntie Emily and Auntie Annie, the Lesers who live next door. And of course that narrative went, and I think my mum's done so well, bless her. You know, if you think that she would have been nattering away on Skype and, oh, it breaks my heart when I think about it, on Skype, and they'd have been negotiating Zoom, her and Liz, and they'd have been texting me and saying, how the hell do you make this work, and all that kind of stuff. So she's done really well, and she didn't pick up a drink. And that is quite something when the entire nation is allowed to, or is actively encouraged to pick up a drink. And she didn't, because in many regards, Lizzie, in many ways, saved my mum's life from when it was really spiralling out of control due to her addiction to drink. So anyway, got a bit emotional there. Anyway, guys, spare a thought. Send all our prayers to Meghan Markle and Christina Perri. Anyone who can get to the bottom of the Monolith in Utah, I'd really like to hear from you. I'm always up for sci-fi. If an abduction were to happen, a sci-fi alien abduction, I'd be right at the front of the queue. I think it'd be fascinating. Fascinating. I don't know if you remember that film Mars Attacks, where at some point they graft the head of a human on the body of a chihuahua. I'm up for that. I mean, what a kick. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all going to die. So why not go out of this life with my head attached to a chihuahua's body? It'd be brilliant. Did you know that chihuahuas their internal biological structure is more directly relatable to the wolf, as in the origin of the dog, the wolf's internal biological structure, than any other dog? Isn't that funny that in a tiny little thing with such an angry little body and such an angry little head with big eyes, there's a wolf fighting to get out? So next time you see a chihuahua, just know it thinks it's a wolf. It doesn't even think it's a wolf. In its head, it is a wolf. And on that note, I'm going to leave you. There you go, Tracy Sidney Jones. It's not a chihuahua. Your chihuahua is a wolf. Anyway, it's been a lovely chat. Lots to think about there. Lots of love. Have a safe day. See you tonight for the Members Live. More card fun and fiascos and madness. and a night shift obviously later tonight. All right, guys, lots of love. Bye. Bye.